Hi, this is James Page at the FTTH conference here in Amsterdam. We've just left a really interesting panel session which follows up from the conference that was held last October in Dubrovnik, talking about progress of fibre in the Western Balkans, and really pleased that we've got one of those panelists joining us now. We've got Pranvera Kastrati, who is Head of Programme Development at the Regional Cooperation Council. Just want to make sure I get that correct. Pranvera, thank you very much for coming and talking to us straight from the stage. Clear from the discussions with panelists and colleagues this afternoon that there's differences between the countries of the Western Balkans. Part of your role is thinking about how you manage to bring those people together. Is it possible to harmonise such different countries?
First of all, thanks a lot for the invitation, and thanks to the FTTH conference. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to continue speaking about what we do in the region. Of course, the Western Balkan region and the economies have different pace of development. They have a different pace of harmonizing, and whatever we do at the regional level is not easy, it's not an overnight task, but it's always possible. And what we try to do is to make sure that the ultimate goal is reached even though the pace is different. And that is done through different works, parallel work streams, different working groups, discussed with different stakeholders, and trying to make sure that what brings them together is more important than what divides them. And what divides them is indeed their pace of development and the speed of the alignment and harmonization they have among them and with the EU. And given the common denominator is the EU standards, rules and practices, despite how far in the time this goes, it is possible. And we have managed that already through different actions we have implemented, through different initiatives that are in the past considered very successful and are still ongoing ones very successful. Okay. So it is possible, but it takes time.
Sure, and thinking about the different speeds that they're working to, part of that development, those countries, those economies that were partly represented on the panel, so there's Macedonia, Bosnia was there, Albania, Greece too, on here from Konstantinos. But the barriers that they're facing, they will be facing some of the same barriers, and in some places they will have slightly different barriers. What are you seeing that they can learn from each other, perhaps?
I think that what they all face, and this is the same, is the regulatory gap. And different regulatory frameworks, that the level of harmonization with the respective EU rules and practices is not the same, which makes the economies of the Western Balkans facing these barriers, even though at the same time, but at different intensity and propensity. What they can learn from this, while some of the economies face and have this regulatory gap, they can learn how the other economy did best a specific arrangement, a specific legislative framework, and in what they failed. And they can learn from each other what is good and what is bad. What brings them together at the same time, and what they can get from it, is how the ultimate goal influences their business models. And in this particular case, I'm not referring to the governments, because for the governments in the Western Balkan 6, the strategies and the policies are well known, entering EU in the near future, and they are doing all it takes for them to harmonize those policies. When it comes to the private sector and the stakeholders, for them, this is adjusting the business models to the developments and to the framework. And while adjusting the business models, of course, different companies, different size, different markets bring different, let's say, characteristics of their benefits and return to investment on everything they do. So practically, they face almost the same barriers. They have different approaches aimed to addressing those barriers, and they have different communication and cooperation with the respective institutions in the respective economies they are exercising their business activity.
Yeah, and they're seeing that firsthand as they try and navigate each of those different economies and those different regulatory environments. So what kind of thing can the Regional Cooperation Council do to help? Maybe something that you've done recently and then thinking, what's next?
What we are best at is bringing together the stakeholders to harmonize and synergize benefits, challenges, and way forward. And in doing that, we see what is the most targeted activity that brings benefits to the citizens. For us in the Regional Cooperation Council, people are the core of our attention. So all actions and activities we facilitate are people-centric. And having the people at the core makes us trustworthy for all we do. Just let's take a few examples, not only one, maybe. The roaming agreement. We started in 2018 with a very intense discussion among the public administration, the governments, but also with the private sector, telecom operators. And we have the roaming agreement signed in Belgrade in April 2019, started implementation July 2019, and only in 2 years, we made possible introduction of the full roam like at home in the Western Balkans, which indeed is mirroring the same practice that EU member states have, which also means for our citizens traveling in the region with 0 roaming charges. So they don't have extra roaming charges, they pay as they pay home. And this has already yielded a lot of results. Just to say that after the introduction of Roam Like at Home, we had up to 500% increase of the data usage, and also doubled the number of roaming users. People in the region do not turn off the mobile data anymore, because for them, this is like being home. Second, we introduced the Digital Summit, which is the highest, let's say, flagship event. The discussion on challenges of digital transformation come at the highest level prime ministers. And this brings together not only the governments, but this also brings industry, telecom operators, vendors, industry at large, academia, international organizations, donors, and they discuss on the challenges of digital transformation. And this is yielding results. We already finished the first cycle of the Digital Summit. We started in 2018 and ended in 2023, started from Skopje to Sarajevo, in each capital of the Western Balkans. We're starting again, and this year we're gathering again in Skopje for the Digital Summit, in which some of the most emerging and challenging, let's say, obstacles of the Western Balkans will be addressed. The theme of this year could be around innovation, artificial intelligence, emerging technologies, and how the Western Balkans are ready to respond. What are the capacities of all stakeholders to respond to these challenges? Having in mind that for our people in the Western Balkans, 82% of them believe that the regional cooperation is the right response. The regional cooperation and integration is the one that would bring for them security, better lives, living conditions, and standards. So these are few things we're doing, but we do that based on principles that for us in RCC are very important. First is all-inclusiveness. No one is left out of the discussion. Everyone has a role to play, and everyone's voice is heard. Second, we do that with full impartiality. For us, all participants of the RCC are equal, and their concerns and their challenges matter. And we do that in a very transparent manner and having citizens first.
Okay, I think you made an undeniably compelling case for regional cooperation in the Western Balkans. That's been a fascinating insight to what was a really interesting panel. So thank you for bringing that to life for us. And I think we look out for what else is going to come next from the Regional Cooperation Council as you help that region along its fibre journey. Thank you very much, Pranvera, for taking.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I believe that there is a lot for us ahead. In particular, as part of the common regional market, a stepping stone towards the EU single market. And in that regard, we have digital transformation, one of the core objectives of the common regional market, which is anchored in the growth plan for the Western Balkans, which at the same time helps the Western Balkans to phase in selected EU policies, of course, merit-based, upon completion and compliance with the rules and standards to EU. So we have a lot ahead of us, and we believe and we have also the political buy-in of the Western Balkans 6 in this regard, and we are convinced that with all we do, we can add up 10% to our economies in the upcoming years. And this is already a lot in the sustainable growth inclusive growth, and at the same time, better lives for our citizens.
Fantastic. Well, look, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and
Thank you.
people can take a lot from this conversation. So thanks for stopping by.
Thanks a lot for inviting, and looking forward to other opportunities.